Hello and welcome back to our series on applying machine learning to a real-world data set. We are building a neural network to predict which JIRA issues will become problems for us. In this episode, we'll be splitting up our data into different sets so that we can use them for training, testing, and prediction. First though, I should confess I missed something in my last episode. Not only was the red flag issue scaled when it shouldn't be, there were all those one-hot encoded columns. Those got scaled as well, and we want them to be booleans. So let's clean that up. I'm going to go up to the top of my, well, not to the top, but back to where I did my fix for the red flags here. Post scaling fix. And let's just comment all of that out. We'll handle it all together now. The way I'll do it is I'll step through all the columns that are in my DF issues standard. So for call name in list, DF issues standard. And then what I want to do is test if the column name starts with is issue or is project, or if the column name just equals red flag. So if call name dot starts with is issue, or call name dot starts with is project, or if our call name double equal sign for equals red flag. So if any of that is true, any of those conditions are true, then I want to denormalize all the values that are in this column, set them back to booleans. And for that I'll use a mask for each column, just like I was using up here, creating a mask. I'll create a mask here that equals DF issues standard, and here I'll plug in my call name. And we want to get the max value for this column. Issues standard, again call name, and we'll do the .max function just like we did up top here. So first we've gotten the max value, and now we will set all of its values to 0. So DF issues standard call name, we just set it equal to 0, and then we will use our masks. So DF issues standard dot lock mask on call name. We'll set call name where the mask is true. And we'll set it to 1. Now we should be able to take a look at our issues, DF issues standard, and see that everything is fixed. Whoops, too far. Okay, let's take a look. So let's go across to some of our Boolean columns here. Is project name, that is those are set, is issue reporter, is issue creator as well, and then our red flag column is back to booleans. Okay, with that out of the way, let's continue here. First I'll remove that result set, and we already labeled our inputs and outputs. So escape B, new line, let's call it create, train, test, and prediction datasets. Now at this point we've created lists of column names for our input variables and our one output variable. In this section we'll use those lists as we split our data into that training, testing, and prediction set. So at a high level we have completed issues where the red flag is already labeled, and we'll use that to train and test our model. And then we have our current issues where we don't yet know if they'll become red flag issues. We want to predict that. We'll feed that into our trained and validated model and make those predictions. So let's start with our completed issues, and we'll do this using that issue status column, which marked columns that were done. Of course, we changed that to a number, specifically 100, to kind of represent the percent of doneness, 100% complete. And then, of course, we standardize those values. So the first step here would be to identify the current value, which represents a ticket with an issue status of done. And I'll say max issue status equals df issues standard. and we want issue status, and we want its max value. Then we can use that to copy out all of the records which meet that criteria into a new data frame, which I'll call df done. Df issues standard dot lock, df issue standard issue status equals max issue status. And we will take a copy of that. Now we can divide our columns up between input columns and output columns using the list that we created up here. So we'll call this xt, and that will be df done taking only the ivars list. The independent variables will go on the x-axis, so to speak, although we won't really have an x-axis. It's just a standard thing. And then df done, this will be our dependent variables. They will go on what we're provisionally calling the y-axis. And now here's the part where we split up our data into the testing versus the training sets. And we'll use the train test split function to do that, but we don't have that yet. We don't have that function. Let's go up to the top here and we'll import it. So from scikit-learn.model selection, import train test split. There we go. And then this function will take our xt and xy here, our independent variables and our dependent variables, and it will split them out into a set of records, say 80% that will be used for training and 20% that will be used for testing. And it'll create 4 different sets out of this, and we'll need to label those. xtrain, xtest, and then ytrain and ytest. And that will equal our train test split function. And we pass in xt and yt, and we tell it the test size. So I'll put in test size equals, and I think 0.20. That will be the size of the percentage size of our test set. The other 80% of this will go into training. And finally, well, not quite finally, but as the end of this part, let's go ahead and print out our just the shape of our sets so we can see that they make sense. Do all that. This will be xtest. This will be test. And I'll convert these to y's. So there are the 4 sets that we get out of it. Issue status, key error, issues status. Look at that. Where did I do that? Issue status, issues status. There it is. And all, okay. And we can see our training set will have 96 rows and 37 columns. And our testing set will only have 24 rows and 37 columns. And then our outputs for both of these are red flag, which we expect the 1 column which is red flag, 96 of those that go with our training set, and 24 that go with our testing set. Now that we've created those, before we go, let's just create the prediction data set too. It's mostly cut and paste to the same code here, except we'll use issues that aren't yet completed. So for that, I will take this. Actually, I'll take those 2 rows, and I'll paste them down here. And I'll call this df not done issues. These issues are not done. And because they're not done, we want it to not equal the max issue status. And then we'll need to give this a different name too. If the T stood for testing and training, I'll use P for prediction. And of course, we don't want to use df done. We'll have to change that to df not done. And that's the last step we needed to complete before creating our neural network. Join me next time and we'll actually do it. We'll review its predictions. We'll use it to make some real predictions. Please click the like button if you think this series is good, and click the subscribe button to keep up to date with our latest videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.